Good morning.
Oh, let's get it. All right.
Exciting news. Coming back with episode 2. And Pat, go ahead, tell them what's the new name.
All right. Check this out. We picked a name, Poddin' with PT. So I'm Patrick.
And I'm Tyler.
And so let's get this second episode started.
Okay. So what are we talking about today?
First, how are you doing?
I'm good. We went out a little bit last night, but got back before 10. That's the funny thing. Someone said that's old heads now, just going out. So it's like, woke up this morning and I was feeling like crap the whole time this morning. So I'm like, I think I'm done. I'm done going out. Came back at 10.
So I had the opposite kind of reaction. I was like, background, first time me going out in Southern California.
Newport Beach.
This is my first time. I've been here since end of August, September. This is my first time going out. I was like, oh, this is not too bad. Like,
too bad out here.
Look, typically on a Friday, Saturday, look, the couch is so comfy.
Couch, college football, NFL football.
Just like, you know what? Just going out is just really not a thing. But going out yesterday to watch the UFC fight.
That was fun though.
So we went out at 7. And then I think we were back home by like 10:30,
11.
Yeah, and I was like, whew, that was a good night. Like, wow.
Honestly, we got some afters, the milky buns. We got some milky buns from Afters.
Afters ice cream shot was
Go ahead, shout out. We're not big enough to do promotions.
Oh my gosh.
Yet,
look, it just changed my life.
Just get some Afters in Costa Mesa in the triangle with the milky buns.
Oh my gosh. So like that warm donut, like it's like an ice cream sandwich, and then but the outsides are donut.
A warm bun.
Oh, it changed my life. But all right, long story short, I was like, you know what? I guess I could go out a little bit more. I can explore a little bit.
But we got to do, I think, like the older version of go out at 7 so I can come back at 10:30 and still have a good part of my night left.
Yeah.
So I can go to bed, wake up, and not feel like ass the next morning.
Might be a little tough.
Yeah.
So
this week we were talking about just kind of traveling. So I know you traveled for your clinicals. Was it 2 of them, or you did just one of them?
Just one of my clinicals.
Okay. And I also traveled too. So I guess for people that are now going into clinicals, like the third years, or people who are first, second, that are kind of thinking about it, what is kind of the things that you took away from traveling? Would you do it? Did you like it? What was your experience like?
I would recommend everyone at least travel for one. It's just nice, just like getting out of your comfort zone, being able to switch up your routines, just being able to kind of like, you almost have to like figure out like who you are, because like, all right, now you're in a new space. So my first shout out to Tyler and Kelly Smith. They let me into their home. So I'm renting out a room for them in Utah. And so it's like when I got there, I was like, what do I want to do? I need to find a gym. I need to, all right, how am I going to exercise? Is there any parks around so I can run around?
True.
How am I going to commute? Like, what is the drive? Just figuring out the landscape, and then just like outside of that, what do I want to do outside of clinical? Because for me, it's like I also want to enjoy my time out. It's like I need that time to like recharge my battery, because like I'm just gonna burn out.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, I had to figure out where I'm at, what I want to do.
New surroundings.
Right. And so at least traveling for one, if you have the means.
That's the big thing. I think it's just like the means, because the problem with clinical is like you can't work. Well, you're working, but you're paying to work. So it's like you're not making money. At that point, you're just losing it. So it's like if you have the means, I think that's the big thing. I think it's cool to kind of like how you said, just get a new area, and you're kind of just like not a free trial, but it's a trial of life. Like, where do you want to live? See what it's like for 2.5 months. See if you know what it's like to live on your own. And if you feel like completely to the point where you can't do it, I think that would be a good way to tell if you want to just stay at home for another year and understand maybe like, all right, maybe I'm not ready yet to move. So I think that's a good way of the way I kind of thought about it.
Yeah. especially like if you're not sure
Mm,
about where you want to go, I would just, or if you could afford it, or kind of like those things, like reach out to either alumni.
yeah, big
So
part.
I messaged one of my teachers, just asked. So when I first realized I was going to um, Utah for my clinical, I was like, I have no idea what's in Utah. I don't even know like where that is. And so and I know personally, I don't know anyone out there.
Mm,
And so what I did, I just messaged my teacher. I was like, um, is there any alumni
yeah,
like what
anything.
have people done in the past when they went out here? And
Mm,
so she reached out, Tyler and Kelly like let me into their home, so which is super dope. Even my CI at the before that clinical, she reached out to some friends that she knew in the area.
okay.
It didn't work out, but with my CI's contacts, but at least the other alums were able to let me into their home, and it was so much cheaper than like renting out
Yep.
a space. And then
Yeah.
and I know other people that rented they was able to get an apartment,
Uh,
but then they had to rent furniture
yep.
and everything else. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me.
It's definitely not cheap because you did the same thing as I did, where it was we applied for that excess clinical in Texas, and I remember it was waiting for forever to get that thing back, and it was like 10:30 at night. I got an email from them on like a Friday night, and it was like, oh damn, maybe I got this clinical. It was like I've read this long thing just to say you didn't get the clinical. So I was like, oh shit, what are we about to do now? And then luckily my fallback one was going to be here in California, so I got luckily enough. So thank you, Allison Davis, for let me in during COVID, because they weren't accepting anybody, but just because Manny knew who Davis was, so my boss Davis uh, knew who he was able to get me in and fit me in for 2.5 months here. I had a different situation, so I was living on my own in a hotel for 2.5 months, so it felt like I was in paradise, which was nice. And I got lucky that my parents were able to figure out a deal with the hotel, so it was like I got to stay there. Renting the car though was expensive, so
Mm.
that was tough. So we rented the car out for a couple months, and because I was 24 at the time, every day was a an added like underage thing. And the thing that sucked was January. I was there December, January, came back February. My birthday was in February, so it was like right as I left, I was turning 25. So then I wouldn't have had the underage fee.
Oh yeah,
So it
that's
was like, it was tough, but I would never change that for the world. That was like the greatest experience because you're by yourself for 2.5 months. You have to figure out what it's like to be an adult in a new area. Like you said, groceries, you got to figure out now. You got to figure out where's the new gym. I mean, I didn't have to go, but like a doctor, dentist, you have to start planning those things for life. And I think that was pretty good because when we moved here, we already had that kind of mindset. It's like I'm in a new area, don't know the area. How do I explore? How do I change from like, all right, I lived in the Northeast for 24 years and I know everything pretty much around there that I want to do. And now coming here is entirely different. So it's like, how do you change your mindset? How do you change
right.
everything? And I feel like that made me grow up pretty fast. It's like now there's nobody close right here. It's like I have maybe a handful of people an hour drive away, or like luckily there's one that's 15 minutes, but parents really aren't there anymore just to like help you bail out if you need something.
Right, right. Yeah. I didn't have to rent a car. Like I just drove
Oh
cross
yeah.
country. So at least my mom was with me when I drove.
Mm.
She probably drove like an hour.
Oh yeah.
It was like so let me think. So starting in Connecticut, it was like about a 24
Jeez.
hour drive back to Arkansas home. And then I picked up my mom, and then we made kind of like I think it was about 20 some hours to Utah.
Mm.
And then but we broke it up, stayed it was a couple days each way. Probably drove 10 to 12 hours each day.
Jeez, I don't know how you guys do that.
It wasn't too bad, especially
You
like,
say that every time, but it it
yeah.
never sounds like it's
Look,
not that bad.
look, let me tell you, when I get into the car, I have my top 3 gas station snacks.
Okay.
I
Oh,
have to have I have water,
got to.
Gatorade, then I have
That's a snack.
Well, I'm just telling you.
All right.
I'm getting to my. All right, let me get into my snacks. I was like, first, let me just. All right. Then I have sour candy, chocolate, and then gummies.
You said top 3 and just name 5 from me.
Hey, 2 waters. No,
right,
water and
started with the snack and said water. All right. Give me top 5 gas station purchases. Change it to purchases. So you going water, Gatorade. Is it Sour Patch Kids or just any sour?
It's Sour Patch Kids.
Sour Patch Kids. The watermelon, you getting?
I need not the watermelons.
Okay.
Look, I like the watermelons, but I need some varieties.
I got you. So you get that, and that holds you over for 10 hours.
I mean, look, I just go back and forth, switching stuff, and so that helps with the trip. But you just gotta find your groove. Look, I'm switching in podcasts, audiobooks, kind of all that. So just anything just to keep my attention, and then having some conversations. So.
Also, shout out to Pat. Pat has a widest variety of audiobooks, podcasts. This man is an expert thinker. I gotta say,
I just try to do a little bit of everything. I'm a learner, I'm a lifetime learner.
That's what you gotta be. Gotta be a lifetime learner. But like one of the coolest things that I think you ever kind of explained to me was like, if you're ever content with something, then that's a problem, because you should never be content with life. It's like at that point, then you're staying stagnant. So I think that was kind of my big thing with moving, was like, if I'm content with where I'm at, I'm doing something wrong. So it's like, I need to always be like learning something new or exploring something new. So I felt like moving here was a great opportunity for us, and just being like, all right, this is a new area. What can you find, or what can you make of yourself? And I think being in such like a wealthy, affluent area, it's like, there's no shortage of possibilities out here of like what you can do, who you can meet, like the places you can go around here. It's really unreal.
Yeah. And also like not being complacent, but also just in the same hand, being appreciative of like where you're at and what you're doing, because it's not easy.
It's not easy.
And so especially like on the drive, so Colorado was beautiful, the mountains. We stopped by Zion National Park. We went to Moab. We just went to like just different places, and just like exploring the country, and just like places I've never seen. It just eye-opening to like, there's a lot out of here, and it just changes your mindset. So while I was there, I was just like, every week, I'm trying to maximize like my time and then what I'm doing here, and that's just outside of clinical, because like when I go home from clinical, I was like, I didn't know what happened or what I just saw or what's going on with this patient. So like
that's still to this day.
So I'm like reading up, like, all right, look, let me read something to at least next time they come in for this particular patient, I know the next step.
I think that's an important thing also, just for me too. I think to explain to people is like, do stuff outside of clinical, because that's your time to be like a student, your time to like make mistakes. So it's like, for me, I took a continuing ed course during mine. So it was like, cool, I don't know what's going on with this patient, but let me take a course. And it's like, this is my chance to try it. And now at least like while I'm still a student, while I'm still supposed to make these errors, I'm refining a little bit more of like how I want to treat when I finally come out and be like a first year where you don't have that experience, where you don't have like that person looking over you. So it was like, for me, I took the FRC course, the functional range conditioning. My friend was lucky enough to like give me his password. So I used that, and that's what I ended up doing my in-service, that presentation on. So it was like, I learned so much through that. I think I used it for about 5 weeks. And now it helped me to go into other clinicals and be like, all right, that's what I learned from patients back there. I can use it to this one. And then this is how I'm using it as a first year when I don't have anyone to help me or like immediately looking over me during my sessions. So I think that's a big part that I would recommend for people, is like, take a course that you can kind of see like, oh, this is what I did like, this is what I didn't like. And then aspects of each course can show you like, oh, maybe I want to go further into this route. So I had taken one that was heavy on breathing. And so like for me, I just thought breathing was what it was. And I was like, now I've gone down that rabbit hole of like what breathing is, how it can help your life, your health, and all that stuff. So little things like that, I feel like would be cool just to apply and just like dig deep down and use it into that clinical.
Yeah, and same for me. Like during my clinical, I took um, I think it was MedBridge
Yeah.
courses over chronic pain and like
Mhm.
the pain science type of fields, and it's just like completely formed how I just even started talking to my patients
Yep.
about pain and just like, all right, it may be a lot deeper than all right, is a muscle injured? It could be also a mental aspect that's part of it,
Yeah.
and then it's just like that part, just like just trying to find things outside of just like, all right, I'm in the clinic,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out, and then once I go home, like
Then it's a
um
wrap.
it's a wrap. So like just opening myself up to new ideas,
Yeah.
new ways of learning things I just don't know, and then just like at the same time asking questions, which is sounds easy to say,
Yeah.
but I know when I'm in, like when I was in clinicals, I didn't even know what to ask. It's just like
That's the worst part.
everything's just like happening so fast, and you're like the first, typically like the first day for me was like more of just shadowing, and then like the second day you get into like starting to treat, but then I find myself just doing the same things my
You see, I did.
my CI did,
Yeah.
but because I was like, all right, this is a new space, new everything, and I'm not confident that I
Yeah.
know anything. And so it was like, and then so it just turns into more of uh like just repeating
Mhm.
whatever they do, but then ask questions like, oh, what if I do the evaluation like this,
Mhm.
and just ask questions like that is like a good, I feel like a good way to start.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, I learned this, what do you think about me doing this instead, or
Mhm.
some anyway, just to,
Spice it up a little
or
bit.
just like starting just asking the first question,
Mhm.
and then you'll feel more comfortable asking questions, if that makes sense. It's like, all right, just start off with just something,
Yeah.
and just get
I agree.
yourself like you're personally able to like ask questions and know you have to have that mentality that there's no dumb questions,
Mhm.
because then it's like you're kind of fighting yourself, like, is that the right question to
Yeah.
ask, or should I go look it up? And at the end of the
Just
day,
ask it.
just ask the question.
Mhm.
Just ask the question.
And I liked kind of what you said is like in the beginning, I know a lot of my clinicals and especially this one, I did exactly what my CI did. And I think what's cool about the CI and student thing is you come from different backgrounds and you learn different things. So it's like he had been practicing for at that point, I think like 8 or 10 years. So he had already his groove of things. And then by taking that course, I actually ended up teaching them some things. So it was like for my in service, I taught them about the course. And so they ended up actually using a lot of the stuff. So now it's like, we ended up making YouTube videos to have like daily routines. So by me kind of taking that step forward and saying, let me take this course while I'm doing this, I was able to kind of teach them some things also, as well as them teaching me. So better ways that I can refine the stuff so that way it works with their patients better. And
Mhm.
then I was able to kind of give them a blueprint of like, hey, this is what I learned. This is like a daily routine that you can give to all the patients, or these are exercises that you can kind of help with certain things. So I felt like it was cool in the student and like instructor aspect where I learn a lot from them and they can also learn from you because also you're a student. So you know more of the new content than what they do because you learn it in school.
Right. And as well as like we all have gone through our personal experiences.
Yeah.
So even just like I was a personal trainer, and so then you're taking that knowledge as well, and
Mhm.
then everything else that you've learned, and you're just bringing it up to people that, so like that relationship with the CI, it's like maybe even things that you experienced in your life can help. So and that helped me in my like just acute care. And just like there's so many people and like different cultures,
Mhm.
and just being able just to have a conversation and just like what they mean when they say different things.
Yeah.
Just having also like that conversation is pretty cool. It's like, oh, where my CI was like, they're pretty hesitant, and I was like, I don't think they were. I just think it's just like how they worded it may have came off that way, but I think they're more like I think they're ready to do it and they seem motivated. It's just like how
you perceive things.
Yeah.
It's like different perception of your past can help you to perceive things differently. Like kind of how we did a little bit of the like minority education for our school, where it was like you can understand something coming from a minorities aspect that maybe somebody else who isn't can kind of like, you can see it from their lens a little bit differently. So where it may come off as, I don't know, maybe like more hesitant, like you said, it was like, oh, they're just more nervous in kind of presenting it to you because they feel that divide. So I feel like, yeah, bringing those different aspects and those different parts of life can just kind of further that experience.
Yeah. So that's like another way, like, plus us coming from the East Coast to a whole different culture, like this West part of the country, it's, you're bringing, you have a lot going for you as a student than you kind of realize. And it's just like, all right, you just got to be confident, which is easier said than done. But just like you have to be okay with not knowing and then wanting to learn more. And accepting it, asking questions, just doing things, and just see what sticks.
So like you said, just transferring here. So what was your initial experience like? So you came here, what was like the things that you struggled with in the beginning that you would kind of recommend for someone? Because I know you came here after your board exam and then looking for a job. What was that like? So you came in a different experience, I feel like.
So speaking of traveling after PT school, it was pretty easy for me. Yeah. So like I'm always like looking for the next thing. I was like, oh, this is cool right now, but I think in the future I want to try something else. So even finishing up in Connecticut, I already had the mindset of like either moving to Florida or California, because before I finished PT school, I already had it set in my mind that I'm applying for the Kaiser residency. And then I did follow through and apply for the Kaiser residency. And so like California was already on my mind to move to. But and so whenever you accepted your job and you moved out here, and I was like, oh, perfect.
That's all I needed.
Yeah. It was like that was like a green light kind of moment. I was like,
shout out to Matt McConaughey.
Right. Yeah. And that I was like, all right, everything's lining up. And I was like, it's like I feel like we work out pretty well. So it's like we're already friends. We kind of have like that same mindset of just like, all right, we're just trying to find a new place. Try to start this new chapter in our life. Let's just go ahead and do it.
So then how was looking for a job? So you moved out here. Talk about that experience for someone that also wants to travel, but it's like, hey, I don't have a job yet. I didn't have a clinical where they offered me a job and something was set. How did you kind of go through that?
I was fortunate in the position that my parents were able to help me and my brother for first 2 months while I was here. And I was honestly, as soon as I got here, I just started applying for jobs.
What did you use?
I used to do Indeed. Okay. I believe it was like the number one app that I used. So that was just like pretty easy just to apply for jobs. And I applied for like, I just went down the line.
Just apply for everything.
Yeah. Kind of like pick which I knew I wanted to be like an ortho setting. So I just started applying for jobs. Okay. And then I got quite a bit of phone interviews. As soon as I applied, it was maybe even like I had a message like maybe an hour later. Like, hey, when can you do a phone interview? So it was after, honestly, like the next day, like I was starting to have phone interviews, but finding that right fit was like tough. Just so a lot of those phone interviews, I can just tell like I'm not going to be happy here. I know it was kind of like a red flag for me. I was like, when their first question is, how many people can you see?
Yeah, that's the productivity there.
Right. And I was like, I understand. but also
some business at the end of the day.
Right. If that's like the like first two questions, I was like, there's gonna be like a unreal amount of pressure that's gonna be placed on me just to turn them out, just like to see patients and kind of. But I was looking for mentorship, just kind of like a gradual build up, which everyone says they're gonna do, but not typically follow through with.
Yeah.
Ortho, and then kind of like a place where I would see some athletes, which led me to Roush, where I currently work. And so they're in their interview, their first question was like, how do you relate with people? And how do you like kind of recharge your batteries? And I was just like,
different.
right. So I was like, just from the start, I was like, I'm in.
Honestly, I don't even know how I would answer that question. That's a good question.
Yeah. And then from there, it was like, they were trying to see if I'm a right fit for their like, and just to be, just be able to talk. They have like a great like environment. Like, and so after the like one-to-one interview, I was just like, all right, here our therapists are out here, just go talk to them. I was like, no, it's like, but they're treating people. How do I just go interrupt?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. like here, look, we're pretty open. We're just have that freedom just to just go have a conversations with patients, with other therapists, even if they look busy. We just try to keep it moving, and keep it fun. Yeah, and so I did. So I went and talked to like two of their therapists as they're treating patients. One of the patients was like a hard ass, and he's like, "Oh, where do you go to school?" And they started making a bunch of like Catholic jokes, and I was like, I was like, with the Kawhi I was like super awkward, like. And yeah, his first question is like, the patient said, "Are you any good?" And I was like, "Well, I hope so." I didn't come this far. Right. Yeah. So it's like, it was cool though, because it's like just being able to just immediately immerse myself in the environment and just like have that freedom just to talk to people and just to be there. I feel like I could talk about this for a while, but what about you? How do you feel like moving out here? And then
so mine was a little bit different. So when I was here for clinical, this was like the greatest thing in the world. I came in December. So December, January, February, this was the first time I never had a winter. It was like 70 degrees every day. I was on the beach. Christmas time I spent on the beach. So I told my parents like right then and there, I was like, I'm moving out here. So I was like, I'm gonna find a way to make sure either I get the job at the clinical or I find like jobs while I'm like finishing the last clinical and try to come out here. Luckily enough, like my last week, they offered me a job. So I pretty much accepted it on the spot. So I knew I was coming back here, and I had such a great experience when I was here. It was like everything was great. I still had like my parents were helping me out with like spending wise stuff because I was still a student, didn't have any money. And then I came out here to work as like a temporary PT while studying for the board. So we graduated May. I came out first week of June. And then that was like the second time I came out here was a lot different. So it was like initially I was in a relationship, so we just broke up. So I was like, damn, the week I got here, we just broke up, studying for these boards. Luckily, shout out to also Taylor, my friend Taylor, and his family let me stay at his house for 3 weeks so I could kind of get myself on my feet. Only problem was it was like an hour away in San Diego. So I was commuting an hour each way. I was working every day and then studying. And like, I felt like I was entirely alone. So I was like, shit, I don't want to tell anyone this, because now it's like everyone didn't want me to come here in the first place. And it's like, see, I told you. So that was tough in the beginning. And I felt like I didn't know what I was doing as a PT. And it was like, I was kind of struggling in the treatment part of things in the beginning. Trying to study for the boards was like just nerve wracking. We just put down for this apartment. I just bought a car. So I was like, it felt like everything was relying on this test, and taking these practice exams. I was getting, if you needed a 600 to pass, I was getting like a 615. So I was like, at least I was getting enough to pass, but it was not a lot of wiggle room. So I remember finally we took the test in July. I'm not even gonna front. I called Jair afterwards. I literally called him. I said, "What the fuck did we just take?" Because I have no clue what that was. It was like, I don't know if I failed, if I passed, if I either got all those right or if I got all those wrong. And I was like, I have no clue what I just took. So it was pretty stressful. And then luckily, my mom came out that same day. So she came out just to kind of see the area and kind of help me get some things started. So getting like couch, all that other stuff for the apartment. And that was at least nice for me to take my mind off of things. And I remember just talking to people like from home, to like talking to you guys, talking to Jair, talking to everyone, and I was just like, yeah, this is hard. This is not what I thought it was about to be. So it was a bit of a culture shock for me in the beginning because I had everything I thought I needed or thought I wanted, and I was in the area I wanted to be, doing what I wanted to do, and it was just it just did not seem like it was the way it was supposed to be. But luckily, I had a couple things along the way that kind of kept me in check and made sure I still had everything. So I still had a pretty good support system. So I think it's definitely that's a tough one to try to travel to a new place while studying for these boards. I think that might be a thing I recommend for people if you can handle it. But I know if someone would have at least warned me a little bit more, like, hey, just know it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you go to do this. So that was my initial thing. But it was cool coming out here, knowing I had a job, knowing that I was kind of creating this new life. And the only big thing was that test. That was a pretty pretty big thing. So I mean, it was cool. I love now what we're doing and just how life has been going and how we've kind of progressed along the way. Since that test has been over, shit, life has been a lot easier.
Right. And so when talking about like preparing for the test, so I was back in Arkansas living with my brother at his house. I was failing all the practice tests. Like I didn't pass one practice test.
Yeah.
Like we even come close to passing any of them. Mm-hmm. And so, and I already agreed to move here, and we signed a lease for an apartment.
Yep.
And so I was like, pass or fail, I'm moving. Either I'm getting 2 jobs in order to pay the rent and for other things, or I'm just going to a pass, and then I'm gonna figure out my PT job when I get there.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was just like, I'm making this move
no matter what.
And I'm just to see what happens. So it was kind of, I wasn't going to say stress free, but it was like the decision was made. I was like, so either pass or fail, it wasn't going to change what I'm about to do.
Yeah. I think what's also nice is everybody feels that way, where it was like everyone felt that they weren't prepared. You're now cramming 3 years worth of information and you're trying to study for it and get enough questions right on a test to prove that you know what you're doing. Where it's not always the case, where some people who are smarter than us have failed. Some people who felt like they weren't as prepared have done better than us. So it's like, it's nice knowing that everyone's going through it. Luckily, I was taking some like yoga class and someone kind of gave me, she was a PT. She was like, hey, everyone feels this way. You will feel like you failed. You will feel like you don't know what you're doing. She's like, that's part of it. So don't feel too stressed about it. And that in my mind was like, okay, so I'm not the only one feeling this way. Because when we studied for PT school, you were always with people and you always at least had that like affirmation, like, all right, you don't know what you're doing for this test. All right, perfect. But coming out here now is like, I was living in this apartment by myself. It was like nobody else was studying the same time because of the different time zone. I was working. By the time I got out of work, people were probably done studying. So it was a lot harder in that regard. But I think just kind of knowing your truth and knowing where you stand is probably the biggest thing with that. And just knowing that you're not the only one, like everybody's going through it.
Yeah. Before we wrap this up, I want to shout out. So when I first made the move out here, I made like an Instagram post and was like, hey, here's my Cash App, Cash App and Venmo. Shout out to everyone that's helped me get to this point. I appreciate you. Yep. Just wait. Look, I will gift it back. I'm gonna get you back. I got an IOU with your name on it. It is coming. Just give me a moment to run my checkup real quick.
I sent you money, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah,
I sent you like a penny.
Yeah, you sent me a penny. But you know what? It's the thought that counts. Like, because when I saw the notification, my heart got a little happy. Then when I saw the amount, I was like, That's the thought that counts.
I didn't have much more than you. So
all right, so that's episode 2. Thank you for joining us.
with the new name and everything. Shout out to Pat, new name, came up with it.
Podding with PT. So check us out. Thank you for joining us on our journey.
Instagram, Spotify, I don't know what else. TikTok,
YouTube. It's all coming.
It's coming soon.
We're trying to figure this out. This is all new. Technology's crazy. And so we'll see what we can do.